High performance meetings are the signature of high performance businesses. And meetings are the pulse of a healthy business as well. And what we're going to work through, first of all, is what that calendar, what an entire year of meetings should look like that is optimal and productive. Now, you can tweak this, you should tweak this. You're entrepreneurs, you'll tweak it anyway. And one of the things that will cause you to tweak it is actually how fast you're growing, not your willingness to have the meetings. So don't tweak this based on the fact that you don't want to have meetings. Only tweak this if you're growing fast enough that you need to meet more frequently. And also, if you're meeting more frequently, what you often need to do is make the meeting shorter. So this is about efficiency as well. You want to make your meetings as effective as possible, and effectiveness is not only the outcomes, but the inputs. So an effective meeting is one where you can spend less time and have higher leverage and get the outputs as well. So part of what we're going to be doing as we go through teaching you how to run some of these meetings is how to not waste time in them as well. But before I get into that, we're going to run through what a calendar of meetings should look like. And so I'm going to start at the macro level, because the first and most important meeting in a business is to have your annual strategy day, or possibly 2 days if you're a larger business and there are more people doing that annual planning day. Now, we won't be doing specifically an annual planning session today, because that's something that we do on strategy day. But this is something that you should spend at a minimum 1 day of your time on. Even if you are the only one and single person in your business, you should still sit down with yourself and spend a day on this. Now, that doesn't have to be one full day from start to finish. It can be split over different chunks, and in busy and small businesses, that's often the easier way to do it, is to split it over multiple sessions. And actually, there's some benefit to that. So large companies would typically go away and do a 2-day offsite. The trap of a 2-day offsite is that there's such energy by bringing the team together, and you all come out of the room high-fiving and everybody's energized and they believe they've got the right solution. But because they haven't had time to truly sort of sleep on it and think about it and go back to the business and sort of validate the offsite thinking with the in the business operations, they'll sometimes find that they've actually come up with the wrong solution. So I actually think it's optimal to do the annual strategizing and planning over multiple sessions that are maybe a week apart, to give you more time to sort of question and think. And ultimately, it's that annual strategy that you set, the outcome of which is setting annual initiatives and maybe a view on a longer term strategy as well, perhaps 3 to 5 years, that become the follow through for every other meeting that you have in your business. Because everything else is building up to, in steps, building up to achieving what you set as your strategy at your annual strategy day. So the next key meeting is a quarterly meeting. So it just works for humans and works for businesses that we split the year into quarters. You'll do quarterly reports in your finances. It's a great period of time to set a sprint project or strategic change initiative to get a chunk of work done, is to split the year down into quarters. And that specifically, we will be diving into more detail today and actually working out what a quarterly planning session should look like. For most businesses, it's somewhere between half a day and 1 day. It can be offsite, but it doesn't have to be. That's up to you. What is important, and what we'll look at in a moment, is who should be in that meeting. Now, the first quarterly planning session is at your annual strategy session. So your annual strategy session is about setting the annual strategy, and then at exactly the same point in time, or within a week perhaps at most, is having your quarterly planning session as well. So then the rest of the year is filled up with only a further 3 quarterly planning sessions, where you bring the leadership team back together. Rockefeller habit number 1, are the team healthy and aligned? Are you prioritizing the right thing? You bring your team back together to think about what we must focus on this quarter. And we do that on a quarterly basis to keep the energy going in the business. It's not sufficient to plan everything out for 1 year and then never meet again. So we have our quarterly session and we break the year down into our 4 quarters and then execute quarter by quarter by quarter. Our next meeting is the monthly meeting. Now, a monthly meeting is not as aligned with strategy as the quarterly meeting. A monthly meeting is a pulse check to check as many dashboards, KPIs, numbers, finances as possible, is to have a look at the health of the business and to compare it to the health of the business in the previous month maybe the previous year if you're seasonal, and to also compare it against targets. A month is usually the shortest amount of time that most businesses are willing to prepare full and detailed reports. And also because it's not that easy to compare a balance sheet one day to another, it's a reasonable enough period of time to take a look at factors on your balance sheet, not just your profit and loss. So the monthly meeting is a period of time when we can sit down again with the leadership team, but that might be different for different meetings here, and do a deep dive into the numbers. And depending on the business and the number of people, it could be as short as 1 hour. Maybe at the top end, it would be 4 hours. But I certainly wouldn't want to be spending any more than 4 hours on a monthly meeting. For most small businesses, 90 minutes is probably going to cut it. 90 minutes is enough, so long as everybody is prepared with the information. We won't go into monthly meetings specifically today. They're not overly complicated meetings, but the key thing about a monthly meeting is that everybody has the information before the meeting, because you don't want to waste meeting time, which is everyone's time. If you've got 5 people in the meeting and it takes 2 hours, that's 10 hours of time. You don't want to waste everybody's time reviewing information. You want the review to have happened offline before you come into the meeting. Everyone's got the data and they're coming in with questions and thoughts already. So that's the monthly meeting. Next meeting is the weekly meeting. Now, the weekly meeting is actually most closely correlated to the quarterly, because at a weekly meeting, what you will do, and this one we will go into in detail, is you review the progress on the priorities that you set at the quarterly meeting. Because a quarter is a 13-week race. And if you don't check in on those priorities weekly, then what happens is some weeks you've got a public holiday, some weeks for some reason you can't all meet, and before too long it's gone off track. So you have a weekly meeting to make sure that the priorities that you've set in your quarterly are keeping on track. And it's also a good period of time to solve issues. Issues are coming up all the time in your business. And by having a weekly meeting and maintaining an issue list, what you can do is smaller issues will generally get left until the weekly meeting. So people aren't bringing issues to you constantly all the time, because they know there's a period of time every week we're also going to sit down and discuss and solve the issues. Some of those issues might come from quarterly priorities that are not on track and that something has gone wrong. Some of them might just be other issues that have come up in the business. And as we touched on briefly earlier in the day, it's also a great period of time to add other things into the agenda, such as customer feedback or staff feedback and what other things are going on in the business. So it's a great period of time to do a health check just on the kind of day, which brings us to the smallest nano meeting of them all, which is the daily huddle. How many of you are doing some sort of daily huddle, daily meeting, daily stand-up, some sort of daily touch point with all staff? Okay, about half of you. Fantastic. So the daily huddle can be a couple of minutes long. It should be at absolute most 15 minutes long. It is often done standing up if people are together. It can be done virtually. It can be done across time zones. And it's a pulse check. It's a touch point with everybody in your business. You can deal with any small issues that people have, such as an issue that might prevent them from doing whatever their work is for that day. And it's also a key piece in maintaining accountability. The top thing that came up on the Rockefeller Habits checklist this morning was accountability. Everybody has accountability issues. But by having a touch point with the team every day, and we should have time for a practice huddle at the end of today, it helps maintain accountability in your team. Because you've got a point in time when you can say what you maybe did yesterday and what the expectations are for today at a micro level. You should have at least 260 of these a year. And if you're working 7 days a week, if your business is live and operational through all seasons and all days, then there's 365 huddles a year. 365 huddles, 52 weeklies, 12 monthlies, 4 quarterlies, one of which is at your annual planning day. That is what a meeting calendar should look like. So the next page in your worksheets is to actually write out your meeting rhythm for the year. Put it in black and white. Lock it in. And if you're bold enough, put it into your calendar. Put it into your diaries right now. What is the optimal date to do the annual meeting? Do you base it on a calendar year? And so you want to maybe do it probably, I would say, early December. If you want to base it on a calendar year as an idea, you're certainly not going to do it on the 31st of December. When should that annual meeting be? Who's going to attend? Where are we doing it? Are we doing it offsite? Are we doing it in the office? And so on and so on and so on for the quarterlies, the monthlies, the weeklies, and the dailies. Even with the daily, what time of day will it be? Do you need to cross time zones? Is it going to be 8:30 in the morning before we all start? Is it going to be at 3:15 in the afternoon just because that's a good time to cross time zones? It's a time people remember. So go down that sheet now and fill out your plan for your meeting pulse, for your meeting rhythm for an entire calendar year.